This is RTV. RTV Special Report with Jason Carruthers.
Dan Newton was at the centre of a media storm when his superpowers were first unleashed, a flash of lightning turning him into a saviour for this city and its residents. His star burned brightly but briefly, and after just 6 months, his powers were gone. The man himself also disappeared from view. Always a reluctant hero, Dan was able to leave the limelight which he had never courted. Now, nearly a quarter of a century on, he finally wants to set the record straight about his superhero status, and has spoken exclusively to RTV. When you were first thrust into the public gaze all those years ago, you never seemed entirely comfortable with all the attention, and certainly not with situations like this. You were almost as famous for shunning the media as you were for being a superhero. So I suppose my first question to you has got to be, why now?
Well, each anniversary that passes brings up more lies from people like yourself, people in the media, people who are always looking to fill the public's ears with untruths. I never wanted any of this. It was a freak of nature, and then I became one. I've sat back for 25 years and listened to all the rubbish that's been told. Now, on the anniversary, I think it's time I set the record straight. Close the door on the past.
Well, it's certainly your own words that we're hearing now. So just take me back to those first few moments when you came out of the coma. What do you remember of that?
I remember seeing this gorgeous nurse, hovering over me. I knew I'd be okay. I thought, I'm either alive or I'm in heaven, and heaven was looking like a good option, to be perfectly honest. I remember feeling great. I felt fit, alive. The doctors kept trying to tell me I needed more rest. I felt like some crazy kid. I was full of life.
And when did you first realise that things were different, that you weren't the person you were before?
I kept getting these weird noises in my head. You know, when you try to tune the radio in, but you got two different frequencies at the same time, and you can't distinguish between the two? Well, it was like that, only a buzz. They became clearer, but there was more of them, and I could pick bits out. It was first sort of like sounds, vowel sounds, that I could pick them out, and then all of a sudden, it was words, but they were just nonsense because they were all together. And then they separated and became sentences, and I could hear that people were in danger. I thought, oh, what's this? And then I realised I had to be somewhere else.
That desire to help, almost a compulsion from the way you describe it, how did it manifest itself?
Horribly. That was the worst part about it. I never got a say. I've seen all the films, all the hero films on the TV. I've been to pictures. I'm a big fan, to be perfectly honest. I used to collect comics as well. So I know what is supposed to happen. But not with me. No, not with me. I'd be in the kitchen making a sandwich and BAM! I'm in an alleyway. I'm fighting muggers. What's all that about? Come on. I'm supposed to be able to make plans and go and help people that I want to help, but oh no, not me. Sitting there on a Saturday night watching Ant and Dec, next thing you know, I'm pulling a couple out of a burning fire. What the hell's going on? I'll be quite happily walking along the street with me shopping. Next thing I know, I'm in a shop, God knows where, fighting off a couple of thieves like Bruce Sodding Lee. Said grace and poise, legs up above my head and everything. I'm not that flexible, but the weird thing was, I loved it. And at the beginning, I was actually in awe of myself.
And was there ever any element of fear that you weren't in control of your own actions?
I was in total fear. I've never been more scared. That my body wasn't having it though. It was like I was possessed.
What about fear on a more basic level? You were in some pretty terrifying situations. Was that ever a worry for you?
I never really had time to worry about the situations. I'd just appear and do my thing. I have to admit, it did take me a few weeks to start enjoying what I was doing, because I'd be in Asda looking at Spuds and then BAM! There I am, taking out a couple of drug dealers. And I'm like, yeah, what are you going to do? People have told me I was preceded by a crack of thunder and a flash of light. But I never saw it, because by the time, I was there, that had already happened. I was just there, in the thick of it. But I'd always have a cracking one-liner. I'd appear, the crooks would turn around and say, "Hey, who the hell are you?" And I'd say, "I'm the Tooth Fairy." And then I'd knock all the teeth out.
But you wouldn't describe yourself as a hard man in your previous life, if I can put it like that.
Oh no, I've never been in a fight in my life. I've only ever been punched once, and that was by a girl. Karen Pope, second year juniors. Apparently I was looking up her skirt.
Just give me a sense of how it felt after the event, if you like. You've swooped in, saved the day. What then? Do you sit back and savour it, or just get straight back to what you were doing beforehand?
The biggest problem was trying to figure out where the bloody hell I was. I'd walked for ages trying to find a bus stop, and then eventually I sort of realised I should keep cash on me at all times, and then I'd get a cab. Do you know how weird it is to suddenly find yourself 4 miles away from where you were a second ago?
And what about your personal life? How did friends and family react?
Daily life consisted of waiting for the moment. You remember what it was back then? Sometimes I had 3 or 4 incidents a day. Hard to plan your life around that, I suppose. I'd go to jobs asleep. So the first thing I knew about it was when I was getting punched in the face by a bad guy. Only time they ever got a punch you in mind. Only time. You wouldn't believe how much of a mess it was. Friends and family would have supported me, but I wouldn't let them. Because I knew what had happened. The press would intervene, start hounding them. Couldn't have that. So that's why I kept myself to myself. Kept totally focused. Just carried on doing what I was doing, even though I didn't really want any of it. There was a point in time when it got really bad. The public and the press would give me such a bad time because I wouldn't embrace what I was, what I'd become, and why, you haven't got a suit. Where's your souped up car? Where's your back cave?
I've got to ask you about one of the most difficult aspects of your time as a superhero. Of course, I'm talking about the death of Greta Douglas. As someone with this innate capacity for doing good, that must have come as a real blow.
See, that was never my fault. It was an accident. See, this is why I didn't do interviews.
I want to push you on this a little further, if I may. Do you feel any guilt at the part you played in the incident, or are you telling me your conscience is clear?
My conscience is transparent. Barry put Greta in danger when he held up that post office. If anyone was the cause of her death, it was her husband. Yeah, we fought a great fight, but me hitting him so hard that he knocked into her and she went in front of her bin lorry wasn't really my fault, was it? I was just unlucky. Yeah, I did shout, "Waste in the purple bin," but, that's just my superhero Tourette's one-liner thing. I couldn't help it. I'm not sure if Barry was too happy with that, though.
Indeed, and of course Barry Douglas held you squarely responsible for his wife's death. He basically embarked on a game of cat and mouse then, trying to lure you into situations to orchestrate a showdown.
He made my life hell. He knew how I operated, and he played me. I was sent into every trap you could think of one sort or another. He'd pay people to create problems, knowing I'd be there. It got to the point where it was all Barry Douglas. My head had just been tuned into his thoughts constantly. I hated him. The press called him Mr. Vengeance, and he sodding well played up to that one. He embraced it. Stupid Getty even had a costume. I hate Barry Douglas.
And then 6 months later, it's all over. When did you first realise that your powers had left you?
The silence. Simple as that. Head was clear. I woke up on a Sunday morning and I could hear the birds. I could hear the bloody birds. Great. It did take a couple of days to sink in, but I knew it was over pretty early on. Biggest thing though was seeing Barry Douglas getting arrested on TV. He got himself caught in a burning building waiting for me. Another one of his ridiculous traps. I laughed.
However reluctant a superhero you were, you must have got used to it by that point and people had come to rely on you. So it must have been pretty difficult to readjust to life as an ordinary man on the street.
Well, I wasn't expecting the backlash. The public thought that I belonged to them. I was ridiculed. People blame me for the crime on the street. They blame me for not embracing the whole thing. Apparently, I never took it seriously, and that's why the powers were taken away. I was given a gift, and I threw it away. Remember the headlines? Waster. Hero to zero. It was after that I knew I had to get away. Just distance myself from the whole thing. Start again somewhere new. So I did. Nice little place in the country, out the way, in Nowheresville, Wales to be precise.
So how does an ex-superhero spend his days?
By doing as little super stuff as possible. I read, I watch TV. I collect, those ornamental plates you see in the Sunday magazines, the really crap ones. I don't know why, but I just like them. I've got about 300 now.
And is there any aspect of the superhero life you miss?
Not one little bit. Well, maybe the one-liners. They're really tough to do in real life, I never actually wanted any of this. It just happened to me. It should have happened to somebody else, somebody, more worthy, somebody actually wanted to do this sort of thing. I never wanted to be super. I just wanted to be a normal man.
Dan Newton, thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Yeah, whatever.
You took my Greta, my wife, my world. You ruined my life. I've waited 25 years for this moment. And what better time than an anniversary to take the ultimate revenge in front of the whole world? We will meet for one last time, Dan. I will kill you. And I will take my ultimate revenge!
I don't